executive session, and I appreciate our attorney going ahead and getting that done, so we don't have to do that in the middle of the day. Austin, if you'll call us to order, we'll be ready.
All right. This meeting of Washington County Board of Commissioners now in session. Pursuant to adjournment. Honorable Chairman Greg Madley presiding. Member order and standing.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our first order of business this evening is our prayer led by Commissioner Edens and our pledge led by Commissioner Tucker.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for the day you've given us a chance to gather together to do the work of Washington County. Lord, as we lead from our positions, help us to lead with thoughtfuless, wisdom, Father, for the good of Washington County. And please lead, guide, and direct all that we say and do. In your name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, is put the roll call screen up if you indicate your presence here.
Sir,
And that's why I'm sitting here.
Well, present, 3 absent.
12 present, 3 absent. We do have a quorum. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Williams back. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here. We're so glad to see you back. So thank you so much. We look forward to working with you. Next item is the approval of the agenda. We do have one item on the agenda that we need to consider. It has been a request to remove resolution 240301 under the zoning resolution. The zoning administrator said they would like to remove that item from the agenda this evening.
Move to remove.
Motion to remove. Do you want to add the resolution? We need to do that.
I think let's do one of them to make the motion to add it. I'm happy to introduce it if you like.
I know we had a motion under executive session. Commissioner Tucker.
I'd like to, for new business, motion for this resolution in the new business, 24/311.
All right. And
I'll
it's a
second.
motion and a second. That. So
And
we'll
Mr.
add-
Chairman, just for sake of good order, I've got a few copies I'm happy to give to the mayor and to Sherry Green if the public would like to have a copy of that, if it does get amended and added to the agenda.
I'll give mine to the clerk as well.
Thank you.
All right, so those 2 changes to the agenda. Is there any further changes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The agenda is, the amended agenda is approved. We only have one item for public comment this evening. It doesn't appear on the agenda, but I feel like that Ms. Lambert has made a special effort to be here tonight. Ms. Lambert, if you'll come forward, we give everybody 3 minutes to speak on agenda items. We appreciate you coming down.
I thank you for letting me just say something to you. I came to give you thanks for approving at your last meeting a new solar plant for county. And for one thing, Bright Ridge has a long waiting list for renewable energy from its current solar plants, on which I have been for going on 4 years since my old solar panels had to come down. So I was very happy to see that you approved this. And, it is also especially important, not in just, not only in addition to Brightridge being able to supply what its customers want, but mainly because of what is happening on the climate front, and that we need to use as much renewable energy as we can. I suspect you all are aware of the additional costs to communities and to homeowners from the extreme weather events which we are seeing, the floodings which we have, the frigid winter when so many water lines broke, the horrible storm we had in last fall, when it fell Shanks Oak and lots of trees in Persimmon Ridge Park. And in my subdivision, I live in the Timber Ridge subdivision in Jonesboro, where quite a few trees came down, including on a neighbor's house. And so there will be many costs to community governments, from these kinds of events, and as well as to households and insurance, etc. Lastly, we know nationally what is happening, that these problems and the damage to our economy from these events are getting worse. In last year, the damage costs exceeded $93 billion. That is according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, which documents these events. In the first decade of this century, the total damage costs were in excess of $602 billion. In the second decade, they rose to 917. So unfortunately, I think we may still have to expect this to get worse unless the global climate warming emissions can get halted. So in that sense, I came to tell you thank you. Every little bit of energy, of renewable energy that we can set against the global warming temperature increase is a big win. And in that sense, I came to thank you.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Lambert. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, that will conclude our public hearing this evening, and we'll move back into regular session. You'll find your Regional Planning Commission minutes on page 1 of the packet. We had no public hearing for rezoning today. No item to consider. The first item is our next item is special recognition and proclamation. Mayor Grant.
In light of a short meeting, we have lots of proclamations.
Says a lot for you, Mayor.
There you go. So, I think we don't have anyone to receive personal national donation life fund. In that case, you will find this in your packet and read it at your leisure.
It'll be on page 10.
So, if you would step up, familiar face to us. Red days. Welcome back. Always. Okay. And this is in recognition of World Wish Month in April. So whereas Make-A-Wish was founded by the family and friends of 7-year-old Chris Yoceris, who was granted a wish to be a police officer on April 29th in 1980. And whereas the organization, now known as Make-A-Wish, has since granted more than 585,000 wishes worldwide, operating in every community in the United States and nearly 50 countries worldwide. And whereas Make-A-Wish is one of the most beloved nonprofits in the country and the most trusted nonprofit operating across all 50 states. And whereas forward-thinking, generous, and big-hearted local community leaders brought the mission of creating life-changing wishes for children ages 2.5 to 18 years old with critical illness to East Tennessee in 1988. And whereas Make-A-Wish East Tennessee has granted more than 1,600 wishes over the last 35 years, promoting hope, strength, and joy to children with critical illness. And whereas Make-A-Wish East Tennessee granted a record-breaking 106 wishes in the fiscal year 2023. And whereas wishes return part of a childhood stolen away by a critical disease or condition, and when a wish is granted, a child replaces fear with confidence, anxiety with hope, and sadness with joy. And whereas research has shown that wishes can improve a child's quality of life, reduce the number of unplanned hospital visits, and produce better health outcomes. And whereas Make-A-Wish East Tennessee depends on local funds, local volunteers, and local donors to make local wishes come true. And its vision is to grant the wish of every eligible child in its 36 county territory. Now therefore, be proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners, Washington County, Tennessee. You hereby recognize April 2024 as World Wish Month. Gentlemen, offer this to you.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner England to approve the proclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you for all that you did. That money, that's the word you're talking to do that or not.
Y'all got enough proclamations. I used to help draft these, so this is really full circle for me.
You done a good job too, Brett.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
Yes, some of those we may look back and use
It
again.
was
you
good.
know?
It was very wordy, like a true, like lawyers do. Right. Thank you, Dan, very much.
Next, this is close to home to our chairman, Greg. So this
It is.
Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and we have Greg, of course, sitting up here, Randall, and the team. Y'all like to come on up.
Yes, tell them to come up here, Mayor.
Makes it happen every day.
All right.
Look, you see the stand right here, so all the people in our large viewing audience can see. Public Safety Telecommunications Week, April 14th through the 20th. Whereas public safety telecommunicators serve the citizens of Washington County every day by responding to requests for emergency aid with professionalism, compassion, and commitment to the steadfast pursuit of their goal of saving lives and property. And whereas the efforts and critical functions performed by the telecommunicators to answer calls for help, gather essential information, and ensure that appropriate assistance is provided is fundamental to the protection of life, preservation of property. And whereas telecommunicators are the vital link between the citizens and police officers, firefighters, and paramedics dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information, monitoring of emergency activities, providing information to all parties concerned, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials annually dedicates the second full week in April as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week to honor thousands of men and women who respond to crisis calls for help and dispatch emergency professionals and equipment to render life-saving assistance to the public. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Tennessee, that we do hereby proclaim the week of April 14th through the 20th as Public Safety Telecommunications in Washington County, and enlist the support of the citizens of Washington County in honoring these men and women for the role they play every day in making our lives, homes, and towns safer. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for what you do. I offer this, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Motion made to approve the resolution by Commissioner Huffine, second by Commissioner Fitzgerald. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. And the proclamation passes.
Good stepping up. We bring this up.
No, it's extreme fair, the way it falls this evening. The way it falls, Mayor.
We don't want to lose it. Thank you, Randall Lewis, long time public servant in the 911 department.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Mayor. Randall is in his, very close to retiring, I mean, within days. And I just want to tell everyone here what a great job he has done for the 911 district and this entire county. Randall, great job every day. He's the same every day, just a great employee. And thank you all for all that you do every day. 911, I normally come down and get to speak tonight, but the vice chairman is away. So I just want you to know what a great job that 911 tries to do for the citizens each day. And they really try to do a great job. Randall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Take it away.
Appreciate it. Serving the public is one of the greatest things that a person can do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, we were gonna stand for them.
Yeah, they were moving too fast.
Okay, last but not least, Sydney, there you go. So this one is National Public Health Week. April 1st through the 7th. And everyone knows our infamous director of our health department. All right. Whereas the week of April 1 through the 7th is National Public Health Week, and the theme is protecting, connecting, and thriving with all public health, with the goal of recognizing the contribution to public health and improving the health of people in the United States and achieving health equity. And whereas from 2019 to 2021, the life expectancy at birth for the population of the United States declined by 2.7 years, which is the biggest two-year decline in life expectancy since 1921 to 1923. And whereas there is a significant difference in the health status, such as obesity, poor mental health, drug use among people living in rural areas compared with people living in urban areas. And this variance increases because rural residents are often more likely to face social determinants that negatively impact health, such as poverty, transportation barriers, and the lack of economic opportunity. And whereas a person's health status can differ drastically by zip code due to differences in the environment, environmental quality, community context, access to healthy foods, access to education, and access to health care. And whereas public health action, together with scientific and technological advances, has played a major role in reducing and in some cases eliminating the spread of infectious disease. And whereas vaccination is one of the most significant public health achievements in history and has resulted in substantial decreases in the number of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths associated with vaccine-preventable diseases and healthcare costs associated with vaccine-preventable diseases. And whereas each 10% increase in local public health spending contributes to a 6.9% decrease in infant deaths, 3.2% decrease in deaths related to cardiovascular disease, 1.4% decrease in deaths due to diabetes, and 1.1% decrease in cancer-related deaths. And whereas public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare for, withstand, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as COVID-19 pandemic, measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Tennessee, that we do hereby proclaim the week of April the 1st through the 7th as National Public Health Week in Washington County, Tennessee, and call upon the people of Washington County to observe this week by helping our families, friends, neighbors, coworkers, and leaders to better understand the value of public health and supporting great opportunities to adopt preventative lifestyle habits in light of this year's theme, protecting, connecting, and thriving. We are all public health. Sydney, thank you for all you do every day.
Thank you very much. There's a lot to do on health, so there's a lot for you to say. You did great.
Present this to the commission for consideration.
All right, motion to approve. Commissioner Wexler makes the motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Edens. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. And the proclamation's approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our proclamations.
Mayor, should we back up and go ahead and approve that first proclamation? So do we have a motion to approve on that proclamation for
national donation life?
motion made by Commissioner Davenport, seconded by Commissioner Wexler to approve the proclamation. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed? The proclamation passes. All right. Next item is our minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. That's February 26th meetings on page 14, 15. You have a motion to approve. Motion made by Commissioner Wexler, seconded by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the minutes of those meetings. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes and the minutes are approved. You do have one item for your consideration under elections, appointments, and confirmations. It's Resolution 24-310. It's a resolution appointing 2 county commissioners as members to the Washington County Economic Development Council. We'll open up the floor for nominations. Commissioner Jones?
The twofer, I'd like to nominate Chairman Matherly and Commissioner Malone.
All right. Is there any further nominations? Do we have a motion? Motion. Is that a motion for nominations to cease?
Nominations to see, yeah.
These 2 candidates be elected by acclamation?
Yes.
All right. We've got a motion and second for that. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I tell you what, since that's a resolution, we better call the roll. Madam Clerk, if you'll take us to the voting screen. Go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, you can announce the vote. 12 yes, 3 absent. The resolution passes. That'll be all for our elections, appointments, and confirmations. Our next report is the county mayor's report. Mayor Grandy.
I've been report tonight.
All right. Is there questions for the mayor at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the county attorney's report. Ms. Wilkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Originally, when we were planning the meeting for this month, the mayor and the chairman thought it would be a good idea to share something of community interest, which was the legislation in the General Assembly as to digital assets, which was coming out of the Commerce Committee. The county did recognize the impact to the community, having had litigation over cryptocurrency mining, et cetera, and its impact on zoning. Our planning director had very significant concerns that were specific as to zoning. The mayor also expressed concern and we had some outreach from Nashville. I'm not going to go into any detail on that. We have kept up with it and understand that it is no longer pending in front of the General Assembly, but I did want to acknowledge it since it was part of our month and there had been issues over it to the extent that that impacts the commission or wondering if there would be any action on that tonight. I wanted to give that update. I have nothing else for you this evening unless you have specific questions. Thank you.
Is there any questions for Ms. Wilkins? Seeing none, move on to the Director of the Health Department, Ms. Butterfield. Seeing
She
no,
left with her proclamation.
I think she got her proclamation and left. Tell you, she's sharp. Tell you, she is. All right. Director of Schools report, Director Boyd.
Good evening. If you have any questions, I'll certainly be I'm available to answer them. On top of what I've shared with you in written report, this week our schools are on spring break, so I'm hoping a lot of our students, our faculty, staff, and our families are having an opportunity to enjoy this week. They'll return on April 2nd, so the Tuesday after Easter. And we'll get to normal in the spring. The last few weeks of school are always at a highly accelerated rate, so it'll go fast once they return. Project-wise, one of the main projects that's underway are the two high school stadium renovations. Everything's been raised or demolished, and they're working on the infrastructure as far as the underground sewage and water, and preparing for the foundations, the piers. The big part of the project, as far as the fabrication of the aluminum steel bleachers, that order was made as soon as we got approval before Christmas. So, it's a lead time, but the order has been made and they're projected to arrive within the scheduled timeline. So hopefully they'll arrive sometime, in June, July, to begin putting those together and installing those on top of all the work that's being done right now. Any questions? I do want to point one other thing is we continue to try to work through some challenges, just the cost of projects. We put out to bid some of the security upgrades. We've kind of regrouped, and we have released the two high schools, the two largest projects. And we hope that, the bids will come in, and we want to get those in front of the board for consideration. We hope to get definitely more than one contractor on those two bids, but they're the two largest projects of all of the projects proposed for safety entrance upgrades. Yes, sir.
You noted in here the expiration of the ESSER funding.
Yes,
what's the annual dollar amount?
In total, from the beginning, when the first round of ESSER, Washington County received $20 million total. Some of that, and especially the first round, was it was much less. It was very specific in mitigating the challenges of the pandemic. And then round two was a little more, around $6 million. That started beginning to allow us to supplement services, including instructional services, adding more teachers, lowering the class size. And then ESSER 3, which sunsets June 30th, 2024, this June, was the largest amount. And it was really focused on addressing needs to close the learning loss gap, the learning gap. And that was approximately $12 million. So we've spent, mostly on instructional services, material supplies, some of the, including some tutors that's pushed in on the early grades. And then the big cost recurring from the beginning has been the wraparound services for emotional support and mental health supports through our school social workers, which we didn't previously have in our contract with a regional mental health provider that helps provide those supports for students and families in our schools.
All right. Director Ward, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here every month. Great report as always.
I want to follow the lead of our health department director. Walk out.
I'm not getting the proclamation.
All right, our administrative elections, Ms. Jones?
Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a moment of your time and tell you how successful running an election for Princeton Arts was. In between two elections, it's a real quick turnaround time for us, and there's always a weekend in there. Historically, we've always had to work on Saturdays because we just couldn't get it done. And I'm glad to say we did it all within a day that normally takes us 3 days because everything is on one level, it's all together. It's easy to get it together and then flip it back around to get it out on election day. So we're very grateful for you guys for helping make that happen. I'll also tell you, this is the first time that we got to use the new machines that you guys approved for Washington County to buy that has a verifiable paper trail. I'm happy to report that we did not have one complaint on those new voting machines. And this is one of the first times that we had a very viable presence of poll watchers. Johnson City Freedom did sponsor poll watchers for our county. They had 10 for early voting, which observed 30% of the hours that we were open. And they had 12 for election day, which observed 20% of the hours that we were open. 92% of their feedback was positive on everything that we do. The few comments that were not positive were very people specific. People aren't used to poll watchers in our county yet, so there's a little bit of an educational process I need to do to make sure everybody knows that they're on our team too and that this is a good thing. So we are the 12th largest county in the state of Tennessee, as I'm sure you guys know, and we had the 10th most voters show up at our precincts in March. So even though our voter turnout was not what we wanted and it was not what we expected, but we were 10th in the state. So that's a good thing. So the whole state was that down and we outperformed the average in the state. And there's some positives there for the Republicans and the Democrats within that. With the Republicans, we had 10th most Republicans that turned up at the precincts. And for the Democrats, they were number 10 in the state for change versus 2016. So you can find positives for both parties in that. Trump, just so you know, in case you didn't see the numbers, received 77.33% of the Republican primary. Biden received 92.16% of the Democrat primary. So, the other thing that I'd like to remind you of is that the August election is August 1st. Early voting is July 12th through the 27th. Petition pickup ends on April 4th at noon. The offices that you can pick up for is, of course, the Tennessee House 6 and 7 districts, Johnson City School Board, and we do have a Johnson City juvenile clerk position that's on the ballot that nobody has picked up for yet. If you guys know anybody who's interested in running for that position, please send them out and have them come see our office. So I am pleased to take any questions if you guys have any questions for us, but we did just want to come up here and say thank you for your support. Thank you for approving the voting machines that are working very well in our county and giving us a place to call home.
Thank you very much, Dana. We appreciate you. It seems like early voting went very well this time, I thought. I didn't receive any complaints or anything. I thought that must have went very well. Will the same sites be this upcoming early voting as they were last?
Yes, sir. Once we set sites for the year, they stay the same the whole year. There's a
Okay.
lot of stuff that has to go on behind the scenes if we did have to change one, and there's a big cost there to it. So we won't be changing our sites for 2024.
All right. That's good news. It seemed to work very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is the County on Property Committee. Commissioner Jones.
You can see the minutes from our couple of meetings on page 41 from our special call meeting to talk about proposals that were submitted to our RFP for the farms, and then the minutes from our regular meeting which was held on March 7th. So that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Commissioner Jones? Seeing none, or move right on to the next item. That will be the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee, Commissioner Jones.
You can see the minutes and everything you need to know about our HEW meeting on page 51. We had a bit more of a discussion about our environmental cleanup and report process, which was educational and always good to know about since it can result in expenses. But over the past several years, we've done things to make it much more economical and better for the citizens. I have no actions and I'll entertain questions.
Questions for Commissioner Jones? Seeing none, our next item is the Public Safety Committee, Commissioner Edens.
You'll find the minutes and attachments from March 7th meeting, page 8. We have 3 resolutions for your consideration tonight. First, we have resolution number 240302, as the resolution amending the fiscal year budget of 2023-24, as requested by the Sheriff's Department in regards to the Chirper revenue. That comes to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Edens, second by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 3 absent, resolution passes.
Next, we have resolution number 240303, that is a resolution authorizing disposition of Washington County Sheriff's Office surplus property on govdeals.com, and that comes to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Edens, second by Commissioner Davenport to approve the resolution. Questions or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 3 absent, and the resolution passes. Commissioner Edens?
Chairman. Last, we have resolution number 240304, or the resolution approving and authorizing the bid, purchase, and disposition by surplus of firearms and amending the fiscal year budget 2023-24 as requested by the Sheriff's Office, and that comes to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Edens, second by Commissioner Fitzgerald to approve the resolution. Question or discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote. Lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 3 absent, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Edens?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Next item is our Public Works Committee, Commissioner Davenport.
Yes, you'll find our minutes on, page 100 for our March 7th meeting. We have one resolution before you tonight. It comes before you in the form of a motion. It's resolution number 240305, resolutions adopting the revisions to the Highway County Road List.
Motion made by Commissioner Davenport to approve the resolution, second by Commissioner Wexler. Question or discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 3 absent, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner Davenport?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. We'll move right on to the Safety Committee report. Director Haney, with our Solid Waste Director, conducts our Safety Committee. You'll see his minutes there on February 28th on page 103 in your packet. That'll move us right along to the Budget Committee report. Commissioner England?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll find the minutes from our March 13th meeting on page 105 in your packet.
And we have three resolutions for your consideration tonight. First resolution being resolution 240303, resolution amending fiscal year budget 2023-2024 reference to circuit court clerk jury meals and expenses. That comes to you in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner England, seconded by Commissioner Wexler to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote, 12 yes, 3 absent, the resolution passes. Commissioner England?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next resolution is resolution 240307. Approving and authorizing certain educational capital project fund expenditures up to $500,400 annually for Jonesboro facilities lease payment. Resolution comes in the form of a motion.
Motion made by Commissioner England. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Wexler. Mr. Jones?
I just have a question about this one. When we navigated this, we talked about having a committee that would be formed around
Yes.
this, how this money would get spent. And I just wondered if there are any updates or do you have any knowledge of where that committee stands right now and who's on it?
I'm working on that as we speak.
Okay.
Me and Ms. Wilkinson is working hard at that. I think really we wanted to see this in place, you know, and find out. I know there had been some questions about the flow of the money, but we want to get that all squared up before we really set the committee. I think some of the questions we had was, it appears to me that we have to get this started and then set the committee. And I appreciate her counsel on that. She's been very wise counsel. So thank you, Ms. Wilkinson.
A pleasure.
Well, I would just say we don't really have a way for all of us to know how that's being executed unless maybe you would bring that back to us.
I'll be sending it out to a committee to work on it.
Okay.
And I think as far as our part goes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think we'll just look at the recommendation and see who's working on that. We'll send it out, make somebody else do all the hard work, you know.
Awesome, thank you.
Commissioner Davenport, did you have a question?
Well, question, concern, as we was developing this, one of the things we developed was when the payments started being made, Jonesboro, town of Jonesboro would take care of the Jonesboro facility and also the Boones Creek facility.
Yes.
Payments are starting being made and we have a discretion of who's taking care of the Boones Creek. And I think it's one of these things just has to get settled. No one's, trying to push one way or the other. I want to make that very, very clear. It's just a step that seems to be missing in the school. From what I understand, they're taking care of all the property up there and talking about funding and things like that. And that's part of this. So I have a hard time supporting this, at least the full amount, knowing that in our resolution, and this goes back to our October meeting in 2020, that Jonesboro agreed to take care of both of those facilities. And we have made a couple payments, I believe, for the 40, we made one, so we made one, and so that's not being done. So my question is, how do we fund this full amount when everything in the agreement is not come to fruition at this point?
There was some question, a few months back about the scheduling issue. If we didn't start scheduling, and turf and those things about the stadium, thank goodness the school board stepped up to help us with some scheduling management and turf management, sowing grass and all those things within the stadium. Now, outside of the stadium, I think the school has continued to maintain the mowing. Mr. Boyd left. Mayor, do you want to weigh in on that? Any as far, are they maintaining the mowing now?
Board of Education.
The Board of Education continues to do that, yes.
So you understand my concern, or how do we go about this?
When is Jonesboro going to start mowing? Is that the question?
You know, until we get that figure, I would say, you know, some reason we can't answer that question, those questions between now and next month. And then take this up when we have more information on how that's going to be handled. There's a lot of miscommunication out there. And again, that miscommunication is because we haven't had direct communication. If we let people educate themselves, they will. And we need to step up and set that direction. And I think the way to do that is by the first grades.
All right. Mayor, do you want to comment before we defer this?
No, not really. Obviously, it is the season of fall field use. The Board of Education did step up, and we are in the process of working a memorandum of understanding with them to manage the scheduling of the field for 1 year. That was really, I think, the only thing that the memorandum addressed.
Yes.
There was looking over here, I'm not sure if you're looking at the chairman, but I will say that there was a maintenance component within that draft that was under discussion. And so I think that for the benefit of those who don't have all of the details, the original agreements divided the maintenance from the operation and management and scheduling. So there were two separate components, with the maintenance falling in one area and the county reserving its operating, management, and scheduling. And that's what the mayor's talking about. But I think that broader agreement was contemplating maintenance as part of it rather than the way it's currently drafted and under those three agreements.
I think, though, I want to go ahead and inject this when we're talking about maintenance. When we originally designed these fields, we did design turf fields. It was just something that was not included in this plan. However, as time went on and we were able to afford those or work those into the plan, that is something that the system felt like that would be beneficial to the kids and parents in the community that wanted to use those fields. I'm not sure that, I know that the school system manages turf fields. They do that already. That's just not something that, there's a great amount of management to turf fields. It's not, you have to take care of those or you'll have to replace them. So I think one of the things that when we were looking at that, the school system managing inside the stadium might be beneficial. I don't know if Jonesboro manages turf fields or not currently with any parts that they have. And that would be another thing that I'd like to discuss. You know, in the stadium and out of the stadium is two different discussions for me. And like Allison said, there was some maintenance inside the stadium that Jonesboro had committed to. But I'm afraid some of the maintenance that they had committed to dealt with mowing the outfield or striping. And so a lot of those, we're not talking about the same two things now.
If I could add one thing, Mr. Chairman, it would be that if those terms were amended, it was an express requirement of the interlocal agreement, the building lease, and the facilities lease that it come back to and through the commission. So I think those changes would be in front of the legislative body before they were acted on. I think that was what was contemplated, at least from the county's perspective. That's my opinion, that any changes or revisions or shifting of obligations would come back through the commission.
Would that also go back to the school board?
Well, the school board had a different understanding of their authority as to what they could sign off on. I would still take the position that it was expressly recited within these agreements that anything would be subject to open meetings and fully disclosed all the way around. So I would recommend that the county bring it back, and I would expect both the town and the school board to consider that as well.
And wouldn't it be better just to renegotiate the deal with Jonesboro and let this committee get together and decide who's gonna pay for what? I mean, they're used to paying Jonesboro and then turn around and paying the school board to do it also. So could we just defer this to elect the committee for this and see how the money's gonna be spent? Would that be the easiest thing to do?
I think the committee decides on how the money will be spent. So I think,
Yes.
so, I mean,
I would
we're
just
trying to find,
I would move we defer this until we can define all the components of this and the responsibilities, who is responsible for what. I mean, I know just from a personal perspective, once you write that check, you've written the check, and you never see them again. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen now, but this will just eliminate a lot of confusion moving forward as long as we understand who's doing what, whose responsibilities are what, and it keeps us all on the same page. So I think.
All right.
Commissioner Davenport. Yes, sir. More of a
do
motion.
we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Reeves, all right.
Do we have to take care, do we have a first and a second?
I know, once this motion to defer, it kind of
Okay.
takes over.
Okay.
It'll just be deferred back to the budget committee, Commissioner Huffine?
Yes.
Back to the budget committee.
Mr. Chairman, before there's a vote on the motion to defer, could I just remind you that there is I think, a contractual obligation for payment, that maybe the one payment, you might want to confirm whether or not it is somewhere, in transit before you take the action as to the whole. And I'm just putting that out there in case if there's anything in play on that. You would want information from the mayor or the director of accounts and budgets so that everybody is acting with the same understanding.
Understanding that whether the payment has been transmitted or not.
So, this payment is made in monthly installments of $41,700, first of which is in release. So, it would be probably helpful to approve that much. Yeah, we're gonna pay him something in this agreement, this facilities. What was set out originally, whatever is negotiated. So we have the ability to adjust this going forward. Good point. Also, I think we ought to be helpful to go ahead and approve first payment anyway. Yeah. And I just say, I'm not, based on what I've heard tonight, there's issues other than the financial amount. This $500,400 at $41,700 a month is what's in the facilities agreement. Signed off on a long time ago. We paid out of the capital projects education fund, and that's why it's before the commission. It's any expense of the capital projects fund would be. So that amount or the terms or whatever are going to be renegotiated. I feel like it's budget committee necessarily doing that, whether it's HEW or special. That's, we're going back and looking at the lake.
I think the school project came through Hugh.
Yeah, the school project, I think, came through Q. The other committee decides kind of where the spending is of that money that's been paid. And it could be projects within the town of Jonesboro or wherever those projects may fall.
This facilities money was negotiated right here.
Yes.
In 2020, right here. Okay?
This was before 2020.
Not according to what I have here. Well, when it got signed. Okay, so let me back up. They got signed right here.
action date.
And it was $500,000, and it was right here with the mayor of Jonesboro, and we had the discussion, and it was very clear, because I was the one that spoke up for it and said, okay, what would it take to take care of both areas? We come up with this money. We said, once this money gets paid, then that's going to happen. That money has started being paid. So let's not complicate this more than it has to. We should not, in my opinion, we should not approve any more money, because we've already sent the first, and that's not being done. So I think we need to hold off here for a month before anything else goes forward. And let's get on the same page. Again, I don't think anybody's doing anything underhanded or anything like that. It's just a matter of getting on the same page in the next month, and we'll approve this and we'll go on. So to defer, I'm ready to vote on that.
And I will make an adjustment to my defer motion and for the mayor, defer it back to HEW versus budget, if that's acceptable. I mean, that way we have a clear path.
With approval of the first payment.
He's asking.
Yeah, that would not approve the first payment. No.
Have you already sent the check?
I think that's an issue.
Come on up to the podium, Mitch.
Yeah, in speaking with county attorney a couple of weeks ago, she pointed out it was a legal obligation the county had once we received the certificate of occupancy. So yeah, we did send it, but what I did advise Janet Jennings, who's the finance director at the town, that pending the outcome of this, if an issue, that we would deduct the 41.7 from the next lease payment. So as long as we're paying them, as long as we've still got them, we have a relationship, then it's pretty easy to adjust future payments. Questions?
Before the Director of Accounts and Budgets leaves, would it make a difference to your department? From a legal question, I would want to know if the county did not have approval authority from the Capital Projects Fund, would that result in any finding or anything for your office?
It wouldn't be a finding. It would just give us the authority to claw that 41.7 back.
So do you need the authority is what?
So that one payment's already been.
We included it with our regular lease payment.
Right. Because there's got to be some legal standpoint here of what they agreed to do within the money that was sent that way, right? I mean, this works both ways. It's not like, well, we don't have to do anything, we still receive our money. So it's got to work both ways.
Commissioner, going back to the conversation I had with the county attorney, legally, I think we have an obligation to pay them.
And legally, they have an obligation.
Correct, which is a different, which is really kind of a horse of a different color than the obligation to make payments. What's this? See how it's like that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just, we just need to, I'd much rather have this conversation on the front end, where we're discussing one payment versus 200 payments or whatever. We're talking about 41,000 versus 500. Let's get it clarified right now, and we can move forward.
May I know you don't want to hear a lot about contractual terms, and I'm happy to send them to you. But what Mitch is referring to is that it was my opinion that the facilities lease agreement stated that on receipt of the certificate of occupancy, once that was delivered to the county, that it would be acknowledged and confirmed that date, and that would become the obligation, the first of the month, that triggered the county's obligation to pay. So if you break it down from legal positions, the county is performing under the agreement, and I'm hearing Commissioner Davenport saying that he would like the county to review the town's performance under the terms that the county is getting what was agreed not only in the facilities lease, but also in the interlocal where the town assumed the responsibility for the maintenance of the Boones Creek properties. And I know I'm very much reducing it in content, but I think that's what's being heard here. And it's always better to be performing under an agreement rather than being in breach or anticipatory breach. So our conversation was about making sure what date, and specifically that this obligation to pay was triggered in this month when the county received the certificate of occupancy in March of 2024, not some other date, January, February, or some other date. So does that make sense?
Yes, and also though, I mean, that work's being done. And at some point, our school system's gonna come to us and say, okay, we had 15,000 in this. And then we'd already paid the money somewhere else. And we're not in the business of double pay. So that's why we need to address it before any other payments are made.
And the next payment would be due May 1st of 2024.
But we're not approving this one.
I'm just telling you, they're due the first of the month. So if you were looking at a timetable, the next payment, they would be due April 1st and then May 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question.
Can I ask Commissioner Huff on just one question about his motion? Can we just, did you say just to move that to Hugh, Commissioner Huff? Is that deferring to Hugh?
Yes, sir, I did.
Good, thank you. The second, is the second good on that motion?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, the question's been called. All in favor of the motion to defer this back to the Hugh Committee for their further continued review, signify by saying aye. All opposed? And the item has been deferred to the Hugh Committee. All right. Commissioner Jones, if you'll follow up on that as soon as you can in the Hugh Committee, and I know we'll be anticipating something coming back. All right, Mr. England, we'll get right back on track.
Okay, moving right along. Final resolution number 240308. Resolution amending fiscal year budget 2023-2024, reference to the Sheriff Department, system, legislative and cost. This comes to you in form of motion.
Motion made by Commissioner England, second by Commissioner Wexler to approve the resolution. Question or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 3 absent, and the resolution passes. Anything else, Commissioner?
That would be all, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right, next item is we have no business to report to you. We do have notaries. That's resolution 240309 is a resolution approving the election of notaries public for appointment or reappointment for Washington County, Tennessee. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Wexler to approve the resolution. Question or discussion? Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, go ahead and cast your vote and lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 3 absent, the resolution passes. We have one item for new business this evening.
Mr. Chairman, I got another copy if you need it. You got it?
I stole mine back from the clerk. It'll be resolution 240311. It's a resolution regarding the manufacture of insulin and other diabetic medications. Pharmacy benefit managers enter their executives based upon their actions in fixing prices, engineering kickbacks, and engaging in other antitrust violations or other wrongdoing with respect to insulin and other diabetic medication. All right. Motion by Commissioner Huffine, second by Commissioner Tucker to approve the resolution. Question or discussion?
Call the question.
Question's been called. Madam Clerk, if you'll switch us to the voting screen, please. Go ahead and cast your vote, lock it in. Madam Clerk, if you'll announce the vote. 12 yes, 3 absent. The resolution passes. Our next cutoff date and time for next month's County Commission agenda is April the 11th, 2024 at 12 noon. And I don't have anything else that I need to announce. All right, motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Wexler, second by Commissioner Huffine for adjournment. All in favor of that, signify by saying aye. All opposed? We're adjourned.